listening to the While We Still Can podcast, where we talk about Missouri news, we talk about national news, sometimes international news, and whatever we feel like talking about. So today we are very thrilled to have Kate with us. And, you know, one of the things Tina and I have noticed throughout this process of change in the temperature of our politics across the country for the worst, we've noticed that young people don't really have a sense of what rights they're about to lose, you know? And what we wanted to do today is talk to someone who remembers what things were like before Roe v. Wade, or, you know, before women were fixtures in businesses and hospitals and just, you know, had positions of power. You know, what was it like but when you couldn't get a credit card in your own name without a man's signature? Just those things. We wanted to talk to someone about it. So we are so fortunate to have Kate here with us.
I'm going to start out actually with a little story about Kate. I've only known Kate for, what would you say, 3 months, Kate?
Yes.
And I met Kate at a protest, right? And Kate is this little old lady, okay? Kate is the cutest, sweetest woman I've ever met. And we were at this protest that we go to at the lunchtime break on Tuesdays. And we look over and we see a man surrounded by, how many cops would you say, Kate?
3.
3? Okay, so Kate's like, so this man, he's on the steps of the Capitol, right? He's got his American flag cape, right? He had a couple beers by his feet, you know, probably he was not hurting anybody, but there were cops around him. And Kate decides, I'm going to go make sure those cops don't do anything bad. And she walks down there all, 4'11"? How tall are you?
Oh, I used to be 5'7". Now I'm 5'4".
5'4". Oh yeah, I guess you aren't. You aren't that short. You're not short. You're as tall as me.
Yes.
But she goes and gets between these cops, right? And she's over there with her sign, and they're like, ma'am, you're gonna need to get out of the way. And she's like, what are you gonna do? Arrest me? And I was like, okay, that's my new friend. Okay.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So,
wow.
You know, and I got to talking to her, and I was like, you know, who would be amazing to talk to, and a voice that needs to be heard is you. So
I was very pleased that you came, because I did need backup with all of those testosterone men.
They were
getting ready to push me around, and I was going to have to whack them with my sign.
You know what, though? Doing things like that give other people bravery to do the same.
That's right. They sure do. So we were talking a little bit earlier about work, and I'm curious what you've seen change as far as education and what is expected of young women these days versus maybe the expectations you had when you were in your teens and 20s. What are the biggest things you've seen change?
Well, first off, I'm going to tell you how it was for me when I was growing. My parents were both older. I had a 13-year-old sister when I was born, and she was your typical first child. She was good at everything. She was perfect. I came along. I never followed the rules. I ran away from home to go to school when I was 3 years old. They had to put me in school because I wouldn't stay at home. And my mother was just, you know, she was 4'11". She's the one who was so little. By the time I was 9 years old, I was taller than she was. I thought I was adopted. I kept going through her desk, and she would find me and she would say, you know, Kathy, you are not adopted. Just give it up. I said, oh, geez, I gotta be adopted. I know I'm adopted. But what my parents always stressed was you have to have a college education.
Okay.
Neither one of them did, but my sister had a college education and I got a college education.
I'm glad to hear they encouraged you to do that.
Oh, absolutely. The key was my mother died when I was 19 years old.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that.
She had cancer, and it was her dying wish that I would finish my college degree. Well, of course, I had to do that for her.
Yeah, guilt trip, Mom.
Oh, yes. She would always say, you may marry, you may never need that degree, but you'll always have it in your back pocket. And I think that's a difference with young adults now. They think, well, I won't need it. It's not that necessary. If they make a good marriage, they think, oh, I don't need it. I needed it. It came a time when I needed it, and it helped me make decisions.
I see. Well, tell us more about that if you don't mind sharing. Like
Of
when your
course
degree
not.
came into necessity.
Of course not. I married a very good man. Well, I always say he was a good Christian boy. He just didn't grow up to be a good Christian man. And it came a time when I knew that it was not good for my mental health to stay in that marriage.
Yeah.
And when I was reading over some of the information you gave me, you talked about no-fault divorce. By the time I wanted to get my divorce, I can't remember if there was no fault because my ex-husband did have an affair. And I remember thinking, oh, thank God, now I've got biblical grounds. I mean, I was so happy, but it wasn't only for the biblical grounds. I knew he would be guilty. He had a lot of guilt, which meant he would do what was right for my children because
Yeah.
I had 3 young children. And, I think a lot of women, by the time they get to divorce, all they're thinking about is, I have to get out of this marriage. They don't think about the long-term effects. They need to protect their children. So I didn't have to worry about no-fault divorce.
I see.
But that is a big deal for women. A very
Did you
big.
have friends or acquaintances that you knew that stuck around in marriages that weren't healthy because they would
course.
struggle to get out?
Yes, and because they didn't have financial means and they thought they would be poor. By the time it came for me to get out, I didn't care if I was poor. I really didn't. And I was poor. At many times I worked 3 jobs. But
How did you take care of the kids? How does that school?
By that time, they were teenagers. They were
nice.
working too.
Yeah.
You do what you have to do.
Yeah, you do.
You just do.
On the other hand, did you have people that gave you a hard time because you got divorced?
I never lived in the same state with a relative.
Oh.
All of my relatives live in Colorado.
Wow.
Yeah, I was totally on my own. When we moved here, my ex-husband worked for IBM, so we didn't have anyone here. I have now a really strong support system. But of course, as you get older, your support system gets older too. So we're all walking down that age group together, But I have a very good support system now. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
But I have other friends who've stayed in their marriages because of finances. Mm-hmm. My sister did that. She said, I am just gonna we're going to get the last child married, and then I'm divorcing him. I said, sure. And a year later, I said, how's that marriage working? And she said, I took control of my own finances, and he's now living in the basement.
Oh, wow. Well, she's
So
making progress then, isn't she?
Yeah, but
She's got
she
some
loved
control.
him, and he loved her. They just,
Yeah.
rocky times.
Yeah. I'm sure every marriage goes through that,
They
but maybe not
do.
for a couple decades.
Yeah. But, women are, they can be very poor when they get out of a marriage.
Absolutely.
I can tell you that when I got out of my marriage, I had never had a credit card or any credit in my own name. I could not get credit in my own name. Even at Penny's, they wouldn't give me credit. Now, never mind that I hadn't worked in 10 years. I had a master's, but I hadn't worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I knew I needed to buy a house so that I had stability for my kids. You try and buy a house with no credit.
So how did you work it out?
My ex-husband co-signed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So even then
me.
you were dependent on him.
Yes.
Even then.
Yes. But it didn't feel like I was dependent. It felt like he was doing what he should do.
Right.
I never felt dependent on him.
Yeah.
Good.
And I think that's an attitude you have in your head.
Yeah.
Right.
One time, he was 3 days late with the child support. He was a manager at IBM. I put on my high heels. I clomped through his office and shouted very loudly, I cannot believe you would put those children in that terrible situation. Don't you ever be late again. He was so mortified. I thought he was going to faint or go under the desk. He was never late again. Not a day.
Nice. Sounds like you got it figured out.
Well, you have to let them know who's the boss. And I was the boss when it came to those children.
Right. Well,
Now you have all of this joint custody business. That's where we've lost out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wonderful. They need a relationship with their father. But,
I love it. I love it.
Do you remember a time that maybe something happened that was in the news and you thought, wow, this is amazing, like for women's rights or some issue, or maybe a woman got a leadership position or something and it just really struck you as it's like, we are making some traction now?
No. No. I'm sorry.
Well, we still have a long way to go, don't we?
What strikes me is that as hard as we fight and as much, we work hard. We work very hard. We go 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? So I have this new theory I had saw the other day that like Republican men are submissive because they follow like the orders blindly of a dear leader. And I really enjoyed that. You know what I'm saying?
You enjoyed thinking they were submissive. Yeah.
I did. I just, because they kind of like we get stuff done. We get stuff done.
But we get all the background stuff done.
I know. I know. So what do you see for the future for women? How do you think this is going to shake out with the Supreme Court and everything?
Oh, geez. I don't know. With Roe versus Wade, it could be a real disaster. For women, And I know he'll go after birth control.
I know.
He just will. I worked for Division of Family Services during a time, and I don't know what brought it about, but they said we couldn't even say the word abortion.
Really?
And during that time, I had a young woman who'd had a baby out of wedlock and who had managed, even though her mother was really not
Kind.
she was crazy.
Yeah.
And that mother wanted her to keep the baby, but she remained firm and she said, no, this baby needs a chance and I'm going to place her for adoption. She came in 3 months later and she said, I am pregnant again. And she said, my boyfriend said he can pay this much, but we cannot come up with the rest of the money. Well, this was during the time I had no money myself. And of course, I couldn't even say the words.
Yeah.
But I knew what would happen if she had another baby.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, I'll go ahead and give you the money. But I'm telling you, if you ever say a word about this, I will deny that I did this.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's my job and I need this job. And you have to bring me the money in a month. You have to pay me back. And bless her heart, she did. And I never saw her again.
Well, that's good. Hopefully she didn't have to do that. Well, thank God she had you.
She must have been scared to death.
She was scared to death. She knew her mother'd either kill her.
Like literally, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I read a book about a loose organization of folks that before Roe v. Wade, they would help women in the Midwest, young women that were pregnant, fly to New York to have a safe abortion, or at least a safer abortion. And it was organized and spearheaded by members of the clergy, rabbis. The priests loosely got involved, but of course you can imagine that they're like, you didn't see me here type of involvement. But it was all in the spirit of, these were people that the least amount of suffering from that situation.
Out of love.
Yes.
Because these are people who need help.
Yes.
Yeah. They need health care.
Yeah. And I fear we're headed that way again because it's getting harder and harder for people to get safe care.
And for doctors to perform abortions in a clinic is really an act of love because they put their lives on the line.
Sometimes they get killed.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So what else? What else? I do know women who stay in marriages because of money.
Yeah.
You've got. But I do remember my dad after I had to get a job and I kept my divorce secret from my dad. My mom had passed away. I mean, divorce was not something, and we're not Catholic, but you just didn't do this. And when he finally found out, he was irate with me that I wouldn't confide in him, that I didn't think he would be understanding.
Oh.
Yeah,
that was a plot twist.
Yeah, he was furious with me.
But not for the reason you thought he would be, huh?
No.
Wow.
So what was I going to say to you? I forget. Well, but, I know what it was. So he said, well, now that you're working and you're finally using that master's degree, how much are you making? And I told him, and he said, what? That's what you're making? My gosh, couldn't you make that at Walmart?
So the the wage gap, was that different? Or was it just the type of job that you had?
I didn't make much money at all.
But
and my dad made a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't believe that I had gone to school for 6 years and I was making piddly amount of money.
Yeah.
Now,
Except
was that all social workers or was that women
pretty
social workers?
much. You don't do
Okay.
it for the money.
Yeah.
Right.
Did
I
you
know. I
see
have.
many men in your field back then?
That's another thing. Whenever it's mainly a female field, you're not going to have very good wages.
That's so stupid.
That's very true. To
Lisa,
this day, that's
do
true.
you feel like
Yeah.
you make less money than other? No, you make like how much you work, right? Like, is there a wage gap in your field?
It depends who you ask. I think indirectly there is, but hypothetically, so, where I work, and it's different everywhere, it's based on how much you do.
That's what I thought.
Dictates how much you get paid. But here's the thing, like across the board, I think women have more responsibilities on their plate, so they're less available to be at work doing work.
Right.
At, odd hours and early in the morning when kids need to get on a bus or after school. And so a lot of times women self-select out of careers that are like that because they just can't be in two places at once. Or, maybe they have to do a job share where they have two people doing one job and then they both get paid half, or, So indirectly, you still see that. Or you see in medicine, you might see women go into fields that have
demanding field.
Yeah, and they tend to not pay as well.
Yes. Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm just in general, what advice would you have to a 20-year-old woman right now that's living in this world?
Be aware of the political situation. Get a profession, an education, and trust God.
Yes.
Because I'm telling you, it's a changing world out there.
Amen to that.
Yes.
Are you worried? Are you scared?
No.
Okay.
Because I'm not built that way. I do what I need to do to stand up and be counted, but I'm not worried. And partly because I don't think America is God's chosen country. No country has stayed on top forever, and we're not going to stay on top. That's hard to hear, but we're just not.
No, we're right at the timing. 259, baby. Wasn't it? Isn't it every 260 years?
Yeah.
Like a demise. That's like the cycle.
Is
of
that
a democracy?
Right?
Yeah, I believe so.
That tracks. Here we are.
I know.
Shit.
It's not good.
Well, for women, but women's rights going backwards, Like haven't we proven our worth yet? I guess not.
I know my worth. You know your worth. You just can't wait for men to tell you. You just can't. Because that's not gonna happen.
I love it.
That is like the juice for everything I do, Kate. Seriously. Yeah. All day, talking smack to everybody. All the time.
Years ago, when I was probably 18, birth control pills had just come out. And I had raging acne. And my mother was always looking for something that would help that. Well, birth control pills would. So, of course, she got me a prescription. And I had been seeing a dermatologist. And right about that time, my mother died. And my dad bought me a car. And I was in college in Indiana, right outside of Chicago. And he expected me to drive from Indiana to Denver, where he was living.
Wow.
And I was bitching to the dermatologist. How could he expect me to drive all that way? And she said, "Can you do it?" I said, "Well, yes, I can do it. But why would he expect me to?" She said, "Don't ever Don't ever do less than you can do. Forget what other people expect of you. You can do it, do it. Who cares? You know, in essence, she was saying, you're the master of your own fate. Forget what he says. So what? Your mother just died. You're only 18. Get in the car and drive.
Tough love.
Yeah.
Damn.
So I got
Therapy and a dermatologist. Damn.
Yes, she always saw me the last patient of the day, so she could kick my butt out the door.
That's great.
That's so funny. That's awesome.
You know, it's true. Don't wait for someone else to tell you how great you are. You know how great you are.
You're amazing.
That is good advice.
Yes.
Yes.
For both of you, Lisa and
thank
Tina.
you.
And
thank you so much. We're so appreciative of you being here, and we hope you can come back someday.
Maybe I will.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you later, okay? Thank you so much, Kate.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.